So hi everybody, welcome back to Law Hero, and I am very happy to be back doing this kind of like general knowledge stuff for lawyers. I find it extremely important, and it's actually a good kick for me as well to remember this sort of stuff, because soft skills I feel like are ignored by lots of people when they're starting out their legal journey. So please subscribe if you haven't done so. Things are only going to be getting better around here. I have a really good plan for 2021. I feel very, very strongly about Law Hero and what it's doing for people. And yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I am dedicating myself to this. This is my massive hobby that I spent hours at outside of my work. I work full time, and yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. So the reason I titled this video, It's Not Your Grades, Honey, is because I've spent the last year looking at roughly over 100 trainee applications, internships, and it seems to me like the common theme why people are getting rejected for all of these jobs, and it's not their grades, honey, it is them. They are the problem. And it's very, very hard for Gen X millennials to accept that they are the problem, because we've been told how great we are, and when this reality is distorted by the opinions of others, we get very anxious, and that is symptomatic of a wider mental health issue that millennials have. And it's that sense of entitlement. We aren't very good with rejection, and I'm a millennial, so I think I can speak on that. And also, I have been in contact with hundreds of people the same age as me and below my age, so I think I have a pretty good data set to go off. I feel emotional intelligence is lacking in a lot of people, and it's an area most people haven't even heard of. When I speak to trainees before interviews, I'm just like, oh my God. They have a lack of intuition, and it's because they haven't spent time researching and thinking about how this stuff applies to them. So hopefully this video will short circuit that for you. If you are going for a job, if you are in a job and you're wanting to be kept on, or you're an intern and you want to get a traineeship, please get a pen and write down what I'm going to say, because this might be your blind spot. It certainly was mine. You can be extremely academic, extremely focused, ambitious, you've great attention to detail, but if this area, which is emotional intelligence, is not in your armory of skills, I can guarantee you you're not going to be kept on. I've also seen this with colleagues. I've seen this happen to colleagues. They're good colleagues, but they just have no emotional intelligence, self-awareness, ability to work in a team, the soft skills that nobody bloody teaches. I'm going to use Goleman's definition of emotional intelligence, and I'm going to put it up here. It's the capacity to recognize our own feelings and those of others, to motivate ourselves, and to manage emotions well in ourselves and our relationships. Okay, so it's a capacity. So you have the ability to recognize your own feelings. So you're able to step outside of yourself into the third person, create some distance or some space, and observe your feelings and those of others. So you're able to empathize, you're able to step into other people's shoes, understand where they're coming from. Why do they feel like they do? You know? To motivate ourselves, manage our emotions well in ourselves and our relationships, because obviously if you're 100%, your relationships are going to benefit from that. And I remember as a trainee having this issue. For example, if a partner would send me a curt email, or a client would send me a curt email, I would always think it was something I had done wrong, because I had not done the emotional work to understand how other people think and feel, how other people react, how other people operate. I was purely coming from an egotistical point of view. I was like, oh, everyone's at me, I was in a victim mentality. I was totally not in an emotionally capable state. And this really, really didn't help me when I was a trainee. Thankfully, I sorted the problem and became more self-aware as I got older, but at the time I wish I had known about this. And actually what that does is, you think it's harmless because you think, oh, this is all just going on in my head, but we are balls of energy. People can tell what is going on inside us. We cannot hide our emotions as well as we think. You know when people say, oh, I just got a bad vibe off that person, oh, I vibed with that person, they're talking about energy. So if you're going around with this fear that if someone's been curt to you in an email that they don't like you, when you interact with that person, you're going to come off, and I've had this with trainees, you're going to come off as standoffish, cold, you don't have a good attitude, and that is going to sit with that person. And it's so ridiculous because it's a vicious cycle, as in, they had nothing against you, you had nothing against them, now you think they have something against you, so you start to fold in like a turtle will in his shell when he's afraid of something, and the person who you're interacting with is like tapping on the shell. They're like, hey, are you in there? Like, if you don't come out of there, you can't help me, and also you can experience the world and broaden your horizons. So it's helping nobody. And again, I wish I had known it at the time, but I guess that's experience in life. It influences human interaction in all areas of your life. So, when you, even when you're driving your car and there's angry people around, they're not dealing well with their emotions, they're reacting to situation, they're taking it out on other people. For example, I was in Tesco yesterday, and it was totally bizarre. This woman seemed normal, but she couldn't pull the trolley out of the, where the trolley rack is. Like, her euro got stuck or whatever, and she just had this absolute tantrum like a child. And I thought to myself, Jesus, like, what must have happened to her today to merit having a tantrum in front of everybody just because she couldn't get her euro out of a trolley? Like, she didn't have the emotional capacity to stand back and go, it's only a euro, I'll get over it, just move on. But that was symptomatic of whatever was going on in her head. It wasn't the trolley that was the problem, it was something else. So you can just see how these things spiral out of control, and you can end up looking like a maniac, and that's not a good look. So the 4 dimensions of emotional intelligence are the following. I'm also going to put these up. So the first one is self-awareness, and I am always rabbiting on about self-awareness, and truly the trainees who do get through, do well, do get that traineeship are the ones with unbelievable amounts of self-awareness, even at a young age, which shows maturity, and it makes me think that I can trust them. And if I'm an employer, I want to be able to trust you. So that's why it's so important on an outwardly basis. But for yourself, it's really important, because you don't want to have too wide a gap between your expectations and reality. So it's all about how you see yourself. So the concept of the self is very important in psychology, and you'll know, like, the ego and the id from Freud. So how you see yourself versus how others see you. It needs to be like a Venn diagram, as in the middle part where those two interact should be the same. It shouldn't be too much of how you see yourself versus how others see you is so different, because then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. For example, if you see yourself as someone who's amazing achiever, I can do anything I put my mind to, I'm a really good friend, I'm a very trustworthy person, but then other people don't see you like that because you're late, you're not responding to emails, you actually haven't achieved anything objectively. Like, what I always think back is like Father Ted. To me, Father Ted was somebody, now I love Father Ted, massive Father Ted fan, but his character was based on this lack of self-awareness. Like he had this inner dialogue of him, like, you know, being the bomb and being like this larger than life character, and actually everyone else just saw him as this priest stuck on an island because the money was just resting in his account. So, but we, the audience, can see it because we've got the neutral, objective standpoint. But what's going on in his head, that inner dialogue, is like, huh, I'm pretty great. So you have to give yourself a check, or as Run the Jewels would say, have a little talk with yourself, because you're not as great as you think you are. And this may have been poofed up by your parents or whatever, but yeah, you need to level yourself. Obviously you don't want to put yourself down, but you need to be like, okay, I'm here, let's be honest. That's what self-awareness is. It's recognize and understand yourself, what your motivations are you a resourceful person, and how you affect other people. Are you a trigger for other people? Do you piss other people off? Are you just annoying? Are you the one who's dominating conversation? You're not a good listener? Who the hell are you? Also, do 16personalities.com MBTI to find out what your personality type is and understand more about your personality. If you can guess what my personality type is, please put it in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys think I am. Okay, the second one is social awareness. So this is the ability to understand emotions, needs, and concerns of others, even if you don't feel the same way. So for example, if you're in the workplace and you ask somebody to do something and they don't do it for you, and you take it very personally, you're like, oh, it's because they don't like me. I always come back to that. Having social awareness is the ability to understand that not everything is about you and the world doesn't revolve around you. Sometimes people are going through stuff that you cannot wrap your little head around. It is not all about you. That is social awareness. Self-management is so how you react when stuff happens. So I always talk about me on the M50. I hate the M50, I hate motorways for the first 5 minutes. So in the first 5 minutes, I always expect to be nervous, and I have this mantra I say to myself, and I do breathing exercises, and I have learned that over time. That's how I manage myself. I think also I said I'm a very impulsive person. I was saying, for example, yesterday, I fall prey for 2-for-1 offers, and that's why I have to have a list when I go into a shop. I'm sure you guys have all your own methods of regulating yourself. If you don't, you need to get them, because we are crazy creatures that do need some level of control, because otherwise we'll just run amok. And then the last one is relationship management. How do you foster and deal with other people? So for example, the typical thing in a law firm or when you go in-house is, can you deal with many different people who are not on your level, who are above your level, who are below your level, who are non-lawyers? Some people think just because they're a trainee solicitor, they can talk down to other people, but in the same time, they think they can't talk to a managing partner. No, at the end of the day, to foster relationships, the big thing you need is empathy, and empathy comes from understanding the human state. And yes, there are hierarchies, but hierarchies are only really administrative. They're not like on a human emotional level. We can connect with anyone. So a great employee will be able to speak to everybody in the organization, from the guy taking out the bins, from the person who's running the organization. That person is like able to slot in anywhere. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. I've rabbited on a lot. So at the end of the day, what I will say to you guys is, when you come to me and when I pressure you, when I ask you questions that might get asked in an interview, remember, I'm testing your emotional intelligence, but in a job interview, your emotional intelligence will be pressed. As in, they want to see how you react to situations. You won't react in an unfavorable manner if you have actually sat down and gone through those 4 things I discussed today and make a plan to proactively address them before stuff happens. Okay? Self-awareness and self-knowledge is the game of life. If you're able to master these things, you will fit in anywhere in life. You will sail through any job interview, any scenario that is adverse to how you want to live. Follow me on Instagram for some daily tips, and yeah, let me know in the comments what you think and if you want any specific video from me. Thanks very much for watching. See you in the next one.